Sego, Sewaguego, welcome to a special ATV live broadcast from the Akwesasne Mohawk Casino Resort. Yawago for tuning in today as we are joined by St. Regis Mohawk Tribal Council Chiefs Beverly Cook, Michael Connors, and Eric Thompson. Akwesasne Mohawk Casino and Resort General Manager Todd Papano is also here as they are discussing the decision to delay the Akwesasne Mohawk Casino and Resort's reopening. And they are here to discuss what strategic plan is in place to handle the reopening. This is a follow-up from the radio show that was aired this past Monday on CKON Radio 97.3. Questions were called in after the show was completed, and Tribal Council and Casino Management would like to respond to these questions. So Sego to our panel, and let's get started.
Sego Ziwaguego. My name is Beverly Cook, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm one of the 3 chiefs of the St. Regis Mohawk tribe. In considering whether to delay the opening of the casino or when we will open the casino, there's several issues that we have to take into consideration. We have to think about the reopening of the casino in a larger context than just the direct effects of that opening on individual employees, staff, and the community at large. The casino is a lifeline to many of the programs that we have in this community, so we have to have a broader view. I'd like to, though, just take a moment to acknowledge some of the realities that we're dealing with. Our families still are losing loved ones, not to COVID-19, for other reasons. But our ability to cope with those losses are impacted by the precautions and the restrictions that are levied on our community due to the COVID-19. Those are hard situations to deal with. And while we're worrying about jobs, unemployment, programs and services to the community, we have individuals that are grieving still. So I just wanted to take a brief moment to have a moment of silence for those that we've lost and the families that are still in pain. Goa. So first of all, when a COVID infection occurs, there's quite a flurry of activity. Our health services kicks into action, our emergency operations center kicks into action, there's phone calls galore that are happening. And up until now, we've only had the original 4 cases since March that have resolved. That doesn't mean that they weren't feeling ill and that they didn't suffer impacts of COVID-19, but have relatively recovered well. So the week of July 20th, it was a Monday, I'm sorry, I just got lost for a minute. The week of July 20th, 3 positive cases were reported to the EOC and to our health services. On Wednesday, July 22nd, an additional positive case was made known, and by Thursday, the following day, there were 4 more cases that were reported. So currently, we had 8 active cases. Currently, we have 10 since that time. 2 more cases have come to light. So we've had to take a hard look at whether we were going to continue on with the reopening of the casino. One of the things that I'd like to impress upon people is that when these infections occur, up until now, we've done really well in limiting the community transmission of this virus, which is highly infectious. We've been able to hold that line by wearing masks, by physically distancing ourselves from others by 6 feet or more, staying home initially as much as possible, and washing our hands as frequently as we can. We did a great job, but with the warm weather and being outside, we previously thought that being outside was an actual protective factor, and we're not so sure about that. We're not sure how protective being outside really is, especially if you are not 6 feet away from one another. So we would like to reinforce the habit of wearing masks and physically distancing yourself from other people. And when you're with a group of people, I caution you to not assume that you know how safe the other people are. If they are not living in your home, it's very difficult to know all of their habits or all of their travels, even within the community, to the outlying areas, within the 100-mile radius, even to Messina or Malone, outside neighboring towns. We're not sure of what people do unless we're living with them. So I would advise everyone to not take anything for granted, not to assume that you know what your friends and relatives are up to when they're not with you. Once a case is discovered, contact tracing takes place. And I have to tell you, it's a difficult job. Sometimes people are focused on the fact that they're positive. They're not thinking clearly. They may not remember everyone that was with them, especially if it was a larger gathering. They may overlook someone. So we need to depend on contact tracing, and we think that we can sit back and relax and say, well, they'll notify me if I was in contact with anybody. But realistically, sometimes you have to tell. Sometimes you have to say, weren't you there? And if people don't know where the event was held or the nature of the event that people attended in large numbers, they're not going to know whether they were potentially exposed or not. We have to help each other in that regard. If you are tested for COVID-19, there's several ways that you can do that now. You can go to the clinic and ask to be tested. You can go to Messina and you can go to Malone. There are funds available through health services to pay for the COVID-19 tests if you decide that you want to go outside of the clinic to be tested. There you'll be given instructions on how long you need to isolate and how long you need to avoid travel and so on. In the meantime, if you're being tested, if you've had direct contact, then you need to stay home, as much as possible. If you go out, you need to wear a mask. You need to distance yourself very far from other people. But the best advice from the healthcare professionals is to stay home while you're awaiting your results. I think I'm going to hold up right there. The last thing that I do want to say, though, is that anything that Tribal Council considers, any decision that we make, is not just one-dimensional. We have several things that we have to think about when we take any action that impacts the lives of the people in this community. And the people in this community are our main focus and our main priority overall. It's not just one aspect. It's health, it's welfare, it's education and safety, all of it, all at once. And so I would like you to consider that when you ask your questions about the reopening, and we'll try to share with you how it is that we're thinking about the questions that you ask and the solutions. Thank you.
Akwesasne. My name is Chief Eric Thompson. So as Chief Cook has just gone over and reviewed the increase in COVID cases in Akwesasne. As a result of these cases, we've renewed our protective measures that had previously been in place and had been loosened up. So due to the increasing numbers of Akwesasne, on Friday, July 24th, the Tribal Council, in coordination with the Tribe's Emergency Operations Center, have renewed the following protective measures to prevent the further spread of the virus. Curfew, reduced by 1 hour from midnight to 11 p.m. for all individuals to stay home until 5, with the exception of anyone performing essential services. This has been intended to address reports of private gatherings and social gatherings after hours, and particularly, and to attempt to address that and stem it, as these gatherings could potentially put our first responders at risk should anything occur at these gatherings, or should the gatherings get too out of hand and have to be dispersed. We should all have the respect for one another, not to put each other in risk unnecessarily in whatever situation occurs on territory. The business hours, the curfew for business hours has been dialed back to 11 p.m. Social gatherings, outdoor gatherings have been reduced to 25 people or less with social distancing. And this occurs, I think, as Chief Cook alluded to, whether it's inside or outside. I think people have been lulled into a false sense of security to some extent by the loosening up and the phased-in process that New York State has been taken, and then our subsequent loosening up of the restrictions have, I think everybody, myself included, have been guilty of becoming a little more relaxed in our social interactions, whatever they may be. We really call on the community to renew their vigilance and pay attention to the rules for our community, for our families. The alcohol sales, off-premise alcohol sales will cease at 8 p.m. Previously, businesses were permitted to sell until the closing time. Again, this is intended to address reports of private parties and private gatherings. On-premise alcohol sales continue to be prohibited during the state of emergency. And as a reminder, non-member fishing and hunting is also prohibited during this state of emergency. There's been an increased activity on territory by community members of our waterways. So we really want to keep people safe and limit the amount of non-natives who may be utilizing our waterways for social purposes as well. Gaming. The casino reopening date has been delayed until August 28. And as Chief Cook alluded to, this decision was one that had been given great weight and analysis, and was arrived at for the betterment of the community. The balancing of interests, I'd say, between the policies, the programs, rather, that are available to Akwesasne really are contingent on a lot of the revenue that is driven by the casino, and subsequent delays really weighed heavy on our minds as we get deeper into the season. We're coming out of summer, we're going into fall, winter will soon be here, and we have many families of Akwesasne who depend on us for the programs and services that are provided throughout the harder months of the year. So the decision was not come by lightly. However, it is for the betterment of the community at this time, and the council made the decision unanimously. Due to the undetermined number of asymptomatic individuals, we need to make a personal sacrifice for the sake of community health. I think it boils down to a respect of one another, respect for our own selves, taking responsibility for our personal actions, our interactions, and by respecting the rules that have been put in place and are in general practice throughout the country at this time. 6 feet of social distancing, mask wearing, frequent hand washing are all part of that. As well as reporting any travel outside the area, maintaining isolation if you have been outside the area. I'd say really respecting and adhering to the requirements should you, for whatever reason, be tested positive for the well-being of the community. You know, these are all socially responsible issues, I think. It's a personal responsibility. I really do believe that it really starts on an individual level and it goes out from there. You can see some of the cases in the western and southern states where personal responsibility is really flouted, and I think that the numbers of COVID really reflect that. Here in Akwesasne, we really have been fortunate enough to keep our numbers down thus far, and it's our aim to to plateau and reduce this number to the largest extent possible. We call on you to become part of this endeavor through your actions and through your interactions. So respect one another, respect our people, and please adhere to the rules that have been put in place. Tony, go on again.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Michael Connors, one of the 3 chiefs with the St. Regis Mohawk tribe, and we're happy to be here today to address you. We did a CKON talk show on the radio, at the local radio station on Monday, and today we wanted to do a Facebook Live to reach a larger audience of community members, plus our employees at the tribe and the casino, plus our players. So we wanted to reach a wider audience today, and the main thing is to reassure our community, our employees, and our players that the plan that was developed with the safety of all as the top priority, the safety of our community, our employees, and our players. Stepping backwards a little bit, on March 17th, the Tribal Council ordered the casino to close, and at that time, the Tribal General Fund transfers that were made monthly from the casino to the tribe to support the community programs and employment and services was stopped. That was in March, and the transfers, no matter what, are stopped for the entire calendar year 2020. In addition to that, the transfers for calendar year 2021 are questionable at this time. We don't know if the casino will be able to transfer anything at all or a lesser amount. So the Tribal General Fund will have a less dollar amount to work with for the community for TGF funded programs and services. Also at that time in March, we had roughly 1,000 employees between the tribe and the casino as combined who were laid off, and some are still laid off today as we speak. Community support donations were stopped at that time also, funding the Boys and Girls Club, the Akwesasne Freedom School, the Hookensburg Akwesasne Volunteer Fire Department, our library, and the Standing the Trees Back Up men's program, which is at the Seven Dancers Coalition. We also had major community investments that were announced the month prior to that, which were a major donation to the Akwesasne Boys and Girls Club for a capital project campaign, plus an amphitheater at Generations Park and additional scholarships. And each of those investments were paused at that time, and they have not moved forward this year, and we will see when those investments can move forward. The St. Regis Mohawk tribe was fortunate to receive a significant amount of money from the CARES Act from the U.S. Treasury. That amount was announced on Tribal Council's talk show on June 29th, and also another talk show on CKON on July 13th. And the details of the CARES Act program were shared on the talk show, and they were also shared on the radio show this past Monday. And as a result of that, a request was made to share the details with the community further. And the spreadsheet from that is up on the tribal members portal on the tribe website for the community members to access. As part of that, the tribe provided household relief to each household in Akwesasne and in our service area. And the relief payments were made today, They were mailed out yesterday, and they began hitting the mailboxes for community members and households today. There's also a small business relief program, which the Economic Development Department has been developing and taking applications from local businesses who have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, the virus, and the shutdown and closures that have happened since March. These are all temporary relief programs for our community. That right now, they're one-time funding. They're not long-term funding. We don't know if we're going to receive $1 more from the U.S. Treasury in COVID relief. It's unknown at this time. In addition to that, please complete your 2020 census. A lot of tribal programs are funded based on the census, and we need to receive adequate funding based on a current and accurate count of the community as a whole. Moving forward, we are in a position where we need to open the casino responsibly and safely. The number one priority, as stated earlier, is safety of the community. We are one of the last tribal casinos in the country to open. As stated by the National Indian Gaming Commission last week, they put out a notice where 75% of tribal casinos have opened already. So we are among the last to open. We are not in a rush. We have not been in a rush. I think we've all seen comments saying that, why is it rushed? Things are being rushed down our community. It's the exact opposite. We have been delayed and taken a deliberate, slow approach so that we can learn from others. Other casinos have opened, and we want to learn lessons from them, what to do right, what they've done wrong, and how we can improve on all of those plans. Our team here at the casino, led by Todd Papineau, who will present more on the plan, they've developed one of the most comprehensive and safe reopening plans in the country, in our opinion, and we've also been told that by others who have reviewed it. They have been impressed with the plan. It's a 91-page reopening plan, and it is also now available on the Open Tribal website and the Tribal Members Portal. And that was done so that all community members, employees, and players can take a look at the plan and feel reassured for their safety by what went into it and what will happen going forward inside the building. Unlike most tribal gaming operations, the casino here is located in the middle, right in the heart of our community. Other casinos are not even in the middle of the community. They're off territory a little bit. So that puts us in a little bit different situation than many others. But the casino is a controlled environment and is one of, if not the safest place to be in Akwesasne, other than your home. Your home is easily the safest place to be. Once the casino opens, with all the safety measures in place, it'll be one of the safest places. The delayed opening was necessary due to recent positive cases. Last Friday, we met as Tribal Council and our direct reports, plus the casino management team. And we came to the agreement that with the positive cases in the community, we could not reopen in 7 days, which was this Friday. So we had to delay it to August 28th. And then we were able to share that news on CKON Monday, and again today with Akwesasne TV Facebook Live, which we are in right now. So we're happy to share this news with everybody for a wider audience. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Todd Papineau. I am the general manager here at the Akwesasne Mohawk Casino Resort. I do appreciate Tribal Council taking the time to invite me so I can discuss what we plan on implementing here at the casino to ensure the safety of everybody when we are ready to reopen. We do understand the gravity and seriousness of the current situation here and how difficult a decision it was to delay the opening. It is a decision we fully support and understand. So I'd like to take a couple minutes here to describe what we have in store when you do come on property and visit us. With our limited capacity, we will be able to diligently monitor and control behavior on the property with implementing the following procedures. We will make mandatory face masks for all. This includes guests, associates, and vendors. There will be no smoking throughout the property. We have reconfigured the gaming floor, engineering in social distancing on the table games and the slot machines. We will request a police presence if required to assist in controlling guest behavior. There will be thermal temperature scans at entrances outside, just inside the door, and through kiosks near the doors. We have reduced our hours of operation from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. 7 days a week to allow for deep cleaning of the gaming floor each evening. We have restricted occupancy in the casino to a maximum of 750. We have a plasma air filtering system that utilizes ultraviolet light to further filter out the germs in the air that circulates through our HVAC systems. We will have social distancing markers throughout the property. We have implemented a contact tracing software that will record everybody who has been on site should there be an issue that arises with the COVID-19. We have safety signage throughout the property, inside and out, hand sanitizers throughout the property. We have required each employee that is currently here on property to have testing for COVID-19. And prior to our reopening in August, on August 28th, we will require all employees to be tested again. We have COVID-19 safety training for all associates. We have social distancing requirements in the restrooms, restaurants, gaming floor. We have reduced the venues we offer to our guests to the 2 restaurants and the slot gaming floor. We have 1 entrance for entering the property and 1 entrance for exiting the property. We are utilizing a CAI software system so that notification can go to staff when a guest leaves a machine, so we can disinfect that game once somebody gets up from playing. We will be scanning IDs to ensure that people are within the 100-mile radius of the casino. We are engaged with bringing Orkin Vital Clean in prior to opening. They will do a thorough industrial cleaning and sanitization in the front and back of the house. This can be used against a wide variety of pathogens, including other known coronaviruses. It kills 100% of bacteria and viruses on hand. For the time being, we have suspended the following services. No minors will be allowed on property. We will not have valet, the coat room. We will stop all courtesy rides and shuttles. We do not have a bellman and luggage service. There will be no hotel to begin with. Bingo will remain closed. Table games will come at a later date, and the buffet is currently closed until later notice. Once again, we will be enforcing the restriction of the 100-mile radius. That is a brief overview of what we plan for your return. It will be different. It has a feeling of spaciousness on the casino floor. You will notice that when you return, and with the limited capacity patrons, it should provide enough space so that we can reduce the risk to all, and especially the community, the players, and our associates. Thank you for taking the time. I greatly appreciate it.
Yamakoa, everyone. Now, the questions that are going to be asked are questions that I had stated earlier were presented after the CKON radio show was ended Monday. So, here are some questions. Is it possible to list tribal services not operating? Is it possible to list tribal services not operating?
I think at this point, we have everything operating, even though the staffing may be decreased. We've had to lay off several hundred people. So some of the programs are running on a smaller crew. But because of the CARES Act, we've been able to shuffle some money around so that basic services are still being provided. However, we did have a question that came in and wondered what would happen if the casino was closed for a significant length of time. And that would be a disaster. There are programs that we would, that are completely funded by tribal general fund, such as our Mother Earth Farm is TGF money. Our home improvement, our HIP program is largely, I think they have some funding now, but a large portion of the HIP program is through TGF. Our ambulance service is TGF money. Our crisis counseling team is TGF money. Some of our advocate programs, our family advocate is largely funded through tribal general fund. So really crucial, essential services to people in need would suffer the most, and that really worries us. We also supplement, like we said before, the Akwesasne Volunteer Fire Department, Rites of Passage, the Akwesasne Freedom School, the Standing the Trees Back Up men's program, which is essential, I feel, and is not funded with federal funds or state funds anywhere, is totally funded by TGF. We help out Zewaguato. We contribute to the Akwesasne Boys and Girls Club, courts, law enforcement, economic development, compliance department, on and on. And so right now, we've been able to operate with some skeleton crews, and it would just get worse if we didn't have that money to operate with. Did I get the question? Did I go too far?
Does anybody else want to add to that?
Only that you know, there's a great amount of uncertainty across the board. Chief Cook had mentioned CARES funding. This is currently under the debate with the legislature, the federal legislature, and has yet to be ratified and put into law. So there's a lot of uncertainty as to how much relief is going to be out there across the board. In the last CARE Act, tribes were not included at all at the outset. We had to really press hard and fight for inclusion into that act, and we were included. There was an allocation of funds there for unbudgeted for items. There was some restrictions that were there. So this is addressing those restrictions, extending it, and fighting for a greater allocation or another allocation of those funds is currently being fought for on the federal level by nations across the country. So, you know, we don't really know how things are going to unfold, and we have been closed since March. And luckily, the CARE funds have been, we've been able to utilize and be allocated and utilize those funds in a manner that has kept us afloat. But there's a great amount of uncertainty going forward should the casino remain closed past the 28th. And there's real effects that I feel will be felt across the board, and not only by tribal people. I mean, the entire community, I think, will feel those effects. So, you know,
we look at it as, you know, there's hundreds of people that have been laid off from the casino. The casino's not operating. We're not getting any money from the casino because of the COVID, and because we're not getting any money from the casino. Some programs have been thinned out. We have hundreds at the tribe. We have hundreds of people that are still laid off. Unemployment, the supplemental unemployment is going from $600 maybe down to $200. That's what the Senate Republicans are proposing. And so you're going to have families out there who could be getting as little as $300 a week to live on, no matter what size their family is. It doesn't go by family size. And without the option of, or even the hope of maybe the jobs coming back, we're all hoping that everything works out, that the casino can open up, that the programs can start running at full capacity, and everybody can get back to work. But it's going to be, touch and go for a little while until this virus starts to abate and we can get rolling again. But those are real issues where real lives are impacted.
Jason, I want to add that now with the casino closed and obviously no funding over the many tribal programs, a lot of those programs are in trouble today and in the near future. And as long as the casino stays closed for any longer, it could have devastating effects to those programs and all the people in the community that those programs serve. Over the past 21 years, the casino has had a tremendous impact on the growth of our community. The casino, through employment, has built homes and has bought vehicles, has raised families, and also has educated many college students. Families have grown because of the casino, mine included, many in this room. I would dare to say every family in the community has been touched in a positive way by the casino. And also, we're not putting money before safety, as many people have also said online. With the plan that's available for everybody to read, to view, that Todd reviewed, the plan puts the safety of the community first. And we saw it in a walkthrough the other day. We saw the effects of the safety plan on the floor and how safe our community will be inside the casino when it opens.
Yeah, go.
Can I just say something else? That the ability for the casino to operate too has a direct positive impact on the ability of small businesses to flourish in this community. Those small businesses contribute also to programs. For instance, our chronic care nursing program is 100% dependent on fees from tobacco and others that the small businesses contribute. And also our elders benefit, I forgot to mention, comes from fees inside of the casino and supplemented by TGF funding. So it's really important for people to think about that. If you were responsible for all of your community members' lives and welfare, how would you look at this issue? And think about how we've all been helping each other, all this while, and how we want to continue to do that. So I just wanted to make sure that we mention some of these really important programs. The fuel program, I mean, that's one thing I think we'd rather cut our right arm off than lose that fuel program. So anyway.
Now, go. Our next question. Will employee testing be on a regular basis? Will employee testing be on a regular basis?
Yes, it will be here at the casino. For all the employees that are currently here, we have all been tested. And we had a plan in place to have everybody tested prior to opening. Now that opening has been pushed back to August the 31st for the general public, we will be retesting every employee here that has been tested already prior to opening. So many of us will go through the testing process again. And those that have yet to return will be going through it for the first time. And moving forward, we are looking at a random testing model right now to move the casino forward once we're opened. Want to speak about tribal employees?
Okay, next question. Why are northern residents not eligible for relief? Why are northern residents not eligible for relief?
I think that
go ahead.
originally, when the tribe had a questionnaire to fill out for the COVID relief funding for the U.S. Treasury, The original application asked for full tribal membership. So what we sent was a full membership number. But once they got into it, they used a different number, which they had from other grant applications. They used the service area population, which is the Akwesasne South, plus our 15-mile radius, which is the areas that the tribe services. And that is the number that was used for the COVID relief funding.
Okay. This would probably be at Todd here. What was the maximum capacity of the casino before and after the reduction? What was the maximum capacity of the casino before and after the reduction?
The guest capacity of the casino gaming floor and bingo and the food venues is over 5,500. We received approval of 50% of that, and quite frankly, we are still moving forward with 750. We still believe strongly that 750 gives us the ability to control where people gather and make sure they're properly spaced in the casino itself. So even with a maximum regular capacity over 5,500, we are really solid on the 750 to begin with. That's not including the hotel.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Will Tribal Council be on site when the casino opens on August 28th? Will Tribal Council be on site when the casino opens on August 28th?
Yes.
Yes, we'll be here.
I had somebody that sent me a question. Is it okay to go ahead and, so the question was, they understood that some people were being told or understood that they were told to quarantine from the day you develop symptoms. And actually you're supposed to quarantine from the day of the exposure if you know you were exposed. But many people don't know they were exposed until several days later. And so once they've been told that they were exposed, they should begin quarantining. And then once they get tested, often they'll be told that they should quarantine for 14 days because they don't know when they're going to develop symptoms. But some people never develop symptoms, and their tests are negative, and then if they, then they're more or less free to move about. And that time frame generally takes them, past the 14 days. So that was one question. And then the follow-up was, so some people go to Messina, some people go to Malone. The tests that are done in Franklin County, we're notified of. St. Lawrence County notifies us of the tests. Franklin County and Eastern Ontario Health have an agreement where they'll share information, but that takes a little while sometimes for them to figure out, because people from the southern portion will go to Cornwall and get tested, and then we have to figure out, is that really an Ontario number or is that a Franklin County number? And then is it a res number on top of that? So they do the best they can to track where the tests are, but it depends on where you get tested. Malone, Franklin County shares the numbers right away. St. Lawrence County, sometimes the EOC has to go after those numbers, but that's why the numbers we have are the best that we know.
Before we conclude, would we like to have any closing remarks from our panelists?
I'd just like to reiterate my earlier remarks regarding vigilance on the rules, adherence to the rules, recognition of the rules, social distancing, small numbers of people and practicing that, whether you're inside or outside. I really do think that it boils down to it's not about you. It's about It's about everybody else. It's about whoever you come into contact and their children and their parents and their grandparents. I think that's the mindset that you have to have, rather than it's only about me, because that really has no place in the conversation. It has to do with, there's a lot of interrelation in our community, and we need to be cognizant of that. And parents should speak to their kids about that, even their older ones who may be a little more adult and out and about. I think it's worth having that conversation. Just respect one another, and hopefully we'll, with a concerted action across the board, we'll be able to plateau these numbers and minimize them going forward until such time as there's a vaccine. So, go.
I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to Akwesasne TV for helping us out, helping us to get the message out, and to remind everybody that you are the front line to this pandemic. We used to refer to the healthcare workers as the front line, and they are, but we're right up there with them. And without our ability to adhere to precautions, we make their job that much more difficult. And so I want to wish everybody well. I want everyone to stay healthy and be careful. Nyawa.
I just want to say that there's a couple words that keep popping up in social media that we see: rush and greed. We reiterated earlier that this was not rushed. It's not being rushed. It's being delayed and taken in a slow manner. And the greed that I think we all feel is for our community, for the success of our community and our community families to succeed and grow. And none of us in this room are going to make $1 more when the casino opens. There's no personal greed in it for anybody here. We're all looking out for our community and for the safety of our community. And that's stressed in the plan, in every word of the plan, every page of the plan. And also I ask that everybody treats everyone else with kindness and respect, even when you're having disagreements. We've all witnessed the opposite of that several times over the past several weeks, and we can all do better. So please do better. Yawa.
I'd like to take this opportunity to once again thank Tribal Council for this opportunity to address everybody, and thank you to Akwesasne TV for putting it on. Moving forward, I mean, the team and I have put together what we believe is a thorough plan on reopening. We are reopening in phases. We are reopening cautiously. We are starting with just 2 restaurants and the slot gaming floor to begin with. After we open, we are going to reassess 14, 17 days after that. Can we add a couple more venues? And after that, we'll wait another 14 to 17 days to watch to see if there's been an increase in cases around because of our opening, and then we'll open another venue. It will take us a while to get fully open, and even at that, we'll still be operating at a reduced number. So once again, we're really doing this to protect the health and safety of the community, our employees, and our players. So thank you.
Nyawako to our panelists today. We hope everybody has found this informational, and if you have any questions, please inbox us here on our Facebook page. Ona.